Welcome to Kingdom of Context. This is a fun idea I thought I might try here on a Saturday night. I always end up studying late or working late on a Saturday night, so I thought, hey, let's have a late night call in. Maybe people want to talk about what's going on and their experience and their walk with Christ, troubles, trials, fun times in their discipleship, eschatology, whatever's on your mind. You're welcome to ask or talk about it. I don't want it to turn exactly into a Q&A because we do those often. We even already did one of those today, but at the same time, I want to give you a chance to speak. I'm going to allow, depending on how many people we have call in, I'm going to give people 5 to 10 minutes to talk a little bit and just interact. And we can fit quite a few people on the screen. My camera's giving me troubles suddenly out of nowhere. This is not a prank, like one of those bad TikTok videos where they slap the camera. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. 1 second. Let me try something and I'll be back. That's so weird. Time to focus, camera. We also had an internet go out the moment that we started as well. Time to focus, camera. Time to focus. How do I get the camera to focus? Camera focus. You know you want to focus. All right, 1 second, guys. We'll be right back. All right. I think it's going to stay focused now. Either way. Okay. Let me see here. So like I said, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how many people we got call in. So if you have a question or want to talk about something, you guys are welcome to call in. Try to make this just a relaxed show tonight. So be relaxed if you can. And if you say something that I disagree with theologically, I'm not gonna treat it like a debate or anything. So just, I'll let you talk and we can talk freely. And just imagine that we just all randomly showed up at a coffee shop together and we just started talking about the Bible or God or whatnot. What would we talk about? So you guys are welcome to do that. If you haven't already, as you could see from the beginning, we have an app. So if you haven't already downloaded our own special Kingdom and Context app, you can do that tonight. You can do that today. It's in the video description below. So we have an entire app that allows you to see our latest uploads and videos, and you can click it and it'll take you right to the YouTube video. Or we have a fellowship finder. You can click that and it'll take you to our fellowship finder version where you can find all kinds of people all across the US and the world, actually. And we even have announcement boards as well as other video channels that we like and recommend. We're going to be adding to that a little bit later. But we have articles as well and fun new features, even more on the way and being built right now. So go download the app if you like. If you like what we do, there's a ton of ways to support us. As you know, they're in the video description below, whether it's PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, or old snail mail through our P.O. box. Another way is sometimes people get our merchandise if they want one of the shirts that we offer, the sweaters or hoodies. Another way that people support us is they'll go to Amazon. This is also in the video description below. It's our first Enoch book. It's an entire annotated commentary with supporting scriptures. I don't know if you can see that or not. There you go. And it's the full book of Enoch. It took me quite some time to finish, and that's a part. It's just a part of our contextual study guide that we have early access to on Patreon. So we got a lot of ways, hopefully, to kind of give back for your support at the same time you supporting us. But ultimately, it helps us develop what we are with the app, with the game that we're working on, with just other things I got down the pike. All of it's for you. All of it's for us, the community. It's not like there is no building the Sean Griffin empire. It's literally all so that we can have a bigger community and interact together. So I just hope that you guys understand that vision. But we have our first caller, and let's bring him in real quick. All right. Is it 𝐬𝐚𝐺?
Yes, correct. 𝐬𝐚𝐺. How you doing, Sean?
Good. Welcome tonight.
Shalom. I am just a treat to speak to you, by the way. So I just wanted to thank you for everything you do and all the content you provide. It's great. I just found your Believer channel. That's what it's called, right? The Believer.
The Brave Believer, yeah.
The Brave Believer. Yes. I just found that channel. I didn't know where it was, but glad I found it. And I think I don't know if it was there or what channel was it that you were going to do a review of Jim Bob and Owen Benjamin's.
It's there.
It's there. I couldn't find it.
It's tomorrow night.
It's hidden.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night. We're going to do a live stream, and I'm live streaming that review.
Okay, so you're live streaming the review that you did. I didn't know if that was already out. Okay, because
no, I haven't done the review yet. Like tomorrow night, the live stream. During the live stream, we're going to do the review.
Got it. So I just was wondering your thoughts on the
comments in real time. Yeah, no, I can give you my thoughts on it. It was a train wreck on both sides. But I'm going to go like point by point and what they say. I'm going to cut out all the some of the nonsensical stuff. I'll probably cut out the super chats. But I'm trying to like trim down that 2.5 hours into probably 30 to 45 minutes of like meats of their actual arguments, and then maybe a couple jokes from Owen. I can't put all the jokes in there because you know how it goes. But ultimately, Jim Bob's arguing an orthodox Trinitarian view, which I don't know if you've watched any. Have you had a chance to see any of my debates with classical Trinitarians or oneness Trinitarians?
I've seen, yes, I watched the one with was like an Aryan type of mixture, and then there was another one where I watched a couple of debates that you had, but I don't think I've seen you do any critique of the Orthodox Trinitarian transcendental arguments, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, I don't know if you understood his argument about the multiplicities and transcending multiplicities and singularities.
You mean like trying to go into quantum physics?
I try to bring that up, but I don't. I'm not sure what abstract objects he's referring to. They're either real, abstracta. I mean, it gets into very much in the thicket of philosophy there. But
yeah, that's unfortunately that's most of the Trinitarian arguments I hear, and I say this as respectfully as possible to anyone that might believe in that those doctrines in my audience.
I do. I can't shake it off.
You do believe in classic Trinitarianism?
Yeah. It's
okay.
I was reading, just growing up I didn't grow up in King James, but I began reading the King James. It has some of those Trinitarian verses in there. Right. Yeah. That then there are also some critique about if they are not original.
Not originally in the Textus Receptus or the Byzantine text, not originally in the original Greek, but it's all good. We understand that the people that compiled the Trinitarian translation were definitely the King James were definitely Trinitarian translators. But regardless of the translation you have, like even if we went back to the original Hebrew or Greek, if we start defining our terms, it leaves very little room for the philosophical arguments that support a Trinitarian mindset, in my opinion. So this is my opinion, right? So if we start defining, like if Jim Bob would have defined his terms for what God is, then by the definitions of the words, theos in Greek, and the definitions of how it's used in the context, it's not very hard to conflate the idea of the Father and the Son being co-equal. So that's the stalwart case for most classic Trinitarians, whether Roman Catholic or Orthodox, is that they believe that the Father and the Son are co-equal, co-eternal. I truly got no qualms with someone that wants to say that, because I also believe that Jesus existed before the world began. I believe the scriptures tells us that clearly. I just don't see a verse that says he was as old as the Father, right?
Yeah, I do think that is a philosophically derived doctrine, and
they use the love argument, right? They say because God is love, and if there's no one there for him to love, then how can he be loved? I'm like, well, you're applying a verb to a characteristic detail of an adjective, and you're assuming the verb action of God loving actively a second person there throughout all eternity before the world was created. Look, it doesn't matter with me if people want to believe that Jesus was existing with the Father before the world created and on into eternity, and he was never created by the Father. That's you can have fun with that. I personally just know that the co-equal argument is absolutely unscriptural, because there's never any point, not pre-incarnate, not while in the flesh, not post-glorified, never at any point is Yeshua actually equal in authority to the Almighty. So this is where I struggle with the classic Roman Catholic or Orthodox Trinitarian argument. And instead of getting anything defined from Scripture, I normally hear philosophical examples of why they have to be, and honestly, I've never heard, even Jim Bob didn't make a good argument for why the Son would be co-equal. And I don't really think that Owen knew the right questions to ask. He's just baffled with, I don't know if you saw it or not, but he was just baffled with the idea of who's Jesus praying to, if they're one. And I don't think Jim Bob did a great job of explaining the Trinitarian view of like three persons and one essence of God. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And the sticking point is always that there is the word, I think, essence, and it's not even found in the Greek manuscripts, and that is a conceptual analogies that they're using. But they also have a sense of making abstract objects. They exist. So if you say there's love, it exists, and it has to have a grounding to its existence, because if you go to the scripture, you're pretty much only looking at concrete objects. You're only talking about things that have causal powers, like spirits. We all know about our spirits. Angels all have causal powers, and the addition to abstract objects like numbers being real and categories being real and having an ontology somewhere, and that God transcends them, is part of worldview.
Are you and I defining ontology the same? Are you defining ontology as being the essence of a being? The descriptive essence of a being? Because I wouldn't understand how we apply ontology to categories.
I understand. Because I had the longest time I was more of a divine conceptualism. I believe they're just more like these numbers, logic, and everything. They're just a description of how God's mind works. And these categories are all descriptive, and the thoughts are the actual concrete objects that have causal and effective means in the world. So, and in that way, that's how you kind of ground all these abstract objects that are in God. And the thing is, like, love is one of the things that it should be essential to God. So, love being
is mercy also an essential trait of the Almighty?
Mercy, I think it wouldn't be as essential.
You don't think mercy would? So he's not always merciful?
I think he can't be always. If he's being loving, I don't think he's being merciful, right? Because we're talking about adjectives now.
Isn't love an adjective? Like if you say God is love, we say that we understand what love is, right?
So I think love can be a noun. Can you think love is a noun?
Well, I think it would be an adjective, and we know that the Greeks try to use it in a verb tense.
In a verb tense.
We can definitely, at least for me, I mean, I could see it as an adjective or as a verb. I know that the Trinitarian philosophical argument is that it has to be a verb if you're referring to God as love, and he had to have someone there to love. And I'm sitting there going, how come he can't possess the quality of love, since that's a part of who his nature is, who his makeup is, and yet have not created a son to love yet? Because otherwise, if they're both created at the same time and neither one of them ever had an origin, then you don't have a Father and the Son by definition. You don't have one that's considered the Almighty. You would have equal pairings. You'd have two Almighties, which then the word Almighty becomes oxymoronic. You'd have two gods at that point.
Well, what you have is supposedly you'll have one God that is love, and then the Father gives everything to his Son, and the Son humbles himself to the Father. And that is the union of love.
I got you. So when would you think that the Father gave everything to his Son?
I don't think there was a when.
Right? You don't think so?
From the time before because when I was saying before the beginning of the Lamb, this Lamb was slain from the foundations of the earth. I think they say foundations, right? So they don't even say before. The word they use, and the word that I guess I'm familiar with, is foundation. So since the foundations of yours, there was love, which was found in the perfect union of the Father and the Son. And I do come across where the Holy Spirit never receives worship, and so that's
the Holy Spirit's never even mentioned in these conversations. It's pretty laughable, actually. Real quick, sorry, Ėmė, real quick. Taking back nephew, welcome. Your mic is on mute if you're trying to speak.
Hi there.
Hey,
welcome. My name is John. I first would like to say thank you for all you do, Sean. I think you're a true blessing to the whole community, and for Christians, you you are like a general, and you're helping us keep our full armor sharp and on. And I'm really appreciative for all you do.
Well, hey man, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know if everybody thinks that same way. Some people,
Yeah.
I think some people more see me as the guy who's more like a trash taker outer, and then I slept in my own trash and then just am over there stinky. So I don't know if everyone views me in the same light that you do, but I appreciate the compliment. But John, just real quick, I think Eimer was trying to finish his thought, and then
Yeah.
we'll let you jump in as well.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm just looking forward to doing a full review of that, and I think that would be my sticking points. And I think if you want to focus on abstract objects, and if it's something like love itself has to exist and it has to have a grounding of its existence from the foundations. So to say that something happened before, there was a time before the son and the father loved each other, wouldn't make as much sense if you're talking about a foundation of creation. So
that's
was
a wonderful. Will you concede to say that is at the very least that's a philosophical insertion into the text? Like the text doesn't actually say that, right? But if you're trying to make a case that the son was never created by the father, he always existed, and you use that love analogy, then we would have to at least admit and be honest, like that's not in the text. That's just our own description of it.
I mean, to me, it's just I just don't understand what it means to say that God is love.
Okay, yeah, that
so
seems
you couldn't
I
say
just wonder why
that's.
I'm always wondering why that specific reference is the number one analogy for classic Trinitarians to try to make a case for the eternal existence of the Son, that the Father never brought him forth at some point before anything was created. So I guess my biggest question would be to you, why do you call him the Son if you think he was always existing with the Father and he's always co-equal with the Father?
Because calling him the Son is a description of the relationship he has with God.
Well, according to humans, all of humankind knows that description of that relationship to mean the Father has more authority and power.
So, so I was speaking about love, right?
No, I mean I was asking you, aside from the analogy of love, if you, I hear and I understand how you're using that analogy to support the idea that the Son was never created, that he's always been with the Father, and there was never a point where the Father brought him forth. Is that what you were saying? Right. With the love analogy? Okay. So with that analogy as your underpinning, I would then say, why call him the Son? Why call the Almighty the Father? Why are we even using this term Almighty if they've always been equally existent together and one never was brought forth from the other? Because mankind, we don't talk like that when we use the words Father and Son. In every culture and every language throughout all of history, when we use the word Father and Son, that denotes that the Father came first and he's greater in authority than the Son.
Right. It's the definition of what love is. I think that's what we're talking about. But the love it's a son and father relationship is describing love. So if you're talking about authority, we can talk about God being the Word, being God, the Word, and the Holy Ghost. So we can use different descriptions to talk about his authority, because I think when we're talking about our own sons and our own daughters, we're not teaching our daughters to have authority. I mean, is that? I guess I'm not sure if I'm not too positive about this, but when I think of son and daughter, the first thing I think about is love. Not really.
No, sure.
My authority
any
over
parent
my
has
own...
love for their child, but their parent doesn't let their child have authority over them. That would be backwards.
I just think that love, love is described as giving your life for somebody and then you humbling yourself to somebody. So that relationship has to be, is what love is. So when it's kind of like when you can describe marriage, that's another analogy where the woman humbles herself and the man lays down his life for her. It's a description. So father and son, it's kind of a fractal pattern of love coming out. Your cells do the same thing. Your cells give themselves for the greater good. They give up their own life. They give up their own autonomy, and then for the greater good that culminates in your own personhood, your own being.
Okay.
And so you're built with love.
Okay. Yeah. Again, those things sound nice, and they don't sound illogical. I just don't actually find them explained in the doctrine of the text. But real quick, Eimer, thank you so much. John and Eric is here. So Eimer, you can stick around, but I want to give them some time to talk as well. And Eric, welcome, brother. And I think John, you were here first, taking back our Eden. So you're welcome to say whatever. If you had a question or a comment or whatnot, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so there were two things that I'd like to share. I tried sharing them with others in the chat. Things that were revealed to me. The first is the similarities with the ancient Hebrew cosmology model and arguably our most precious sense, our eyes. So if you were to take a look at the model, the sclera, which is the white part of our eye, could represent the Antarctic ice wall. And our pupil, which is medically a flat ring-shaped membrane, comes in primarily three colors: green for grass, blue for water, and brown for earth. And
Okay.
the pupil could be also symbolic of the black magnetic mountain at the center of the plane. And also, I think if we look at our face, our eyes represent the sun and the moon, and the nose, which is the center of our face, could also be symbolic of the North Pole magnetic mountain. Interestingly enough, it also has a magnetic crystal, or a crystal called magnetite. Which
What does your eye does?
Yeah, our nose.
Okay. Your nose has a crystal called magnetite?
If I'm not mistaken, yes. I haven't verified it, but according to medical records.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard that before. So I do see the analogy you're making with the eye, and if you look from a top-down view of someone's eye, it would definitely, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Even the firmament would be represented by our cornea.
But your lens, yeah.
Yeah. And and also the other thing I just wanted to bring up, which was, okay, I think we're still in a spiritual battle, and the Bible says that Satan is here. He was here since the garden, and he even tempted Jesus in the desert. So I want all our Christian brothers and sisters to remember we're in a spiritual battle. So make sure you put on your full armor of the Lord. And I'm so grateful for Sean. You are helping everyone sharpen the word of God, which is the sword of the Spirit, which can cut down all these lies that Satan uses to deceive our brothers and sisters and the non-believers.
Amen. We're doing our best. Sometimes it feels like I've got a dull machete and I'm walking through a thick forest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we are trying to do our best.
There's
so many lies.
It's miraculous. Yep.
Your channel is
Justin's
true
here.
blessing.
Welcome, Justin.
Yeah, I'm Justin, man.
Hi, Justin. And that's all I wanted to share. And I'll be listening in and trying to take in all the wisdom.
Hey, we appreciate your
I have an ability. I have a communion with the gods and the demons and all this shit. I have a natural communion ability. So, like, I can tell what the Jews are saying. I can say that God is at this point already saying that, like, you can't proclaim me, Jews. You are on the sidelines when this was happening. Not because he hates Jews or he's anti-Semitic, but just because they put everybody but the mentally ill on their 𝐥𝐤𝐤 calendar of the month. You see what I'm saying?
Thank you so much for your call in tonight, brother. So we're gonna let our brother go, and appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for your call in. So we also have Jonathan coming in, and Eimer. Thank you so much, brother. I'm gonna let you go. Okay, we got a bunch of other people calling in. Awesome, brother.
I just want to say bye. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now we have Jonathan is here, and as well as Eric, and you're both on mute, guys. So go ahead and take yourselves off mute, and if you want to say anything. And John, thanks for your comments. Gives us something to think about, brother. All right, looks like Jonathan is up here. Hey, brother, can you hear me?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, I'm hearing feedback. Do you have a speaker going as well as your earphones?
No, I just shut the. I had the TV going, but I muted it so I can.
Okay.
So we can just be here. So what's up?
Hey, what's up with you? You called in. What do you want to talk about?
Love the content. Like everybody's saying, we appreciate you know, what you're doing, what you're about, and, you know, challenging the constructs that we've, you know, allowed to be built up for us in our minds, and then into our hearts, you know what I'm saying? And these become belief systems that are so ingrained in us that we don't know how to work around it, you know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty
Many
interesting
times
stuff.
if we can't even dissect what the lies were being thrown at us, it's hard to remove them so we can see the truth. And we have Diego here as well. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Howdy.
I don't know if you can hear us or not.
Good to see you. Good to talk to you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in.
I got a question. I got a question on the sheep and goats judgment. On the goats, and we know entering into the millennium, the goats are going to go to Sheol, and the sheep are going to go to be taught in that millennial reign. What happens to the sheep that passed on prior to the Messiah coming? I've been searching your videos trying to see if you touch on that.
To my best understanding, he has to make the decision to resurrect them or not. So this is a contentious point, not contentious, but this is a debated point amongst people that study the resurrections, the two resurrections, the first and the second at the end of the millennial reign. So the reference you're asking about in Matthew 25 is the first resurrection event. And yes, so once he returns and he's sitting on his throne, like Matthew 25:31 says, he draws all nations to him and he judges amongst the people that come before him. Some are sheep, some are goats. The goats, they're going to be killed and go to Sheol. They'll await the resurrection of the dead at the end of the 1,000 years, to my understanding, to where they'll actually be thrown in the lake of fire at that point. The rest of the sheep, they're the ones that are going to be able to flourish throughout the millennial reign. But all the people that lived and died who before that moment, if they didn't take part in the actual first resurrection to become priests with God, then it's my understanding that he's going to resurrect everything out of Sheol and empty out Sheol in the Revelation 20 at the end of the millennial reign. Okay. So at that point, if you didn't make the first resurrection, so remember at the beginning of chapter 20 of Revelation, it says in verse 4 or verse 6, blessed and holy are those who take part in the first resurrection. So it's my understanding that he's going to, all the people he deems righteous, he will have already resurrected to take part in the first resurrection, and they get to live in the New Jerusalem and be a part of that priestly class, if you will, that goes out to the people living outside the New Jerusalem for 1,000 years and helps them live in peace, teaches them the law of God, ministers to them and what needs they may have. But at the end of the millennial reign, all the people that died before Yeshua came who did not make the first resurrection, they're going to get resurrected, which is what Paul referenced in Acts 24, where Paul says, I was arrested because I believe in the resurrection of the righteous and the wicked. So the wicked do get resurrected back to, they don't get a glorified heavenly body. They get back to their normal body to stand judgment before Yeshua for their sin and their rejection of God and his son. Then they're, of course, consequently judged, thrown in the lake of fire, and destroyed from creation. So that way, at the end of the millennial reign, you have two resurrections of the righteous. Everyone that lived and died from Adam up until the point, the second coming, that's called the first resurrection. And then during the millennial reign, everyone that was spared and shown amazing mercy at his actual return and is deemed sheep, if they continue to faithful till death, like all of us in the covenant between mortal man, are required to live faithfully till death. If they did that throughout the millennial reign, or as long as they lived anyway, throughout the millennial reign, then they will be resurrected again at the great white throne resurrection and get to live on, not just in New Jerusalem, but on the whole earth will be given open at that point, as Jubilees talks about. So they'll get their glorified, eternal, immortal bodies. But then everyone else who does not make the second resurrection of the righteous, they're considered part of the disbelieving or the wicked, and they're going to be resurrected and stand judgment to be thrown in the lake of fire. So if I could summarize it, from Adam to the point of the end of the millennial reign, everyone that does not make one of those first two resurrections of the righteous, they get the resurrection of the wicked, to which they get back into their mortal body. This is the same body that Yeshua talked about That's that we, in Matthew 10:28, that we should fear God, who can destroy both the body and the soul in Gehenna, the lake of fire. So from Adam to the end of the millennial reign, everyone that's deemed or considered wicked, they're resurrected back to their normal mortal bodies to stand judgment before Yeshua, and convicted and then sentenced immediately into the lake of fire. So they're destroyed, removed from the creation. No more existence, no more perpetual animation, gone forever, body and soul destroyed in the lake of fire. And so that way, the only thing left on the earth is everyone who wants to be in the kingdom of God. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So
right.
this is actually a couple years ago.
It.
Yeah, you're welcome. A couple years ago, I have it on my channel. If you want to go back and take a look, it's up to you. But it was a milk and meat live stream I did about 1.5 years ago, where it was the presentation I gave at Take on the World 2021, where I talk about why is there 2 resurrections and they're split up like that between the front and the back end of the millennial reign. Well, it's because the Father needs an amazing large group of priests that he can use during the millennial reign to go minister to millions of people from the nations and fulfill Isaiah 2:2-5, to be a part of that ministering force, to go out and teach them how to live according to his laws, to teach them how to do justice, to get them to stop killing each other, to beat their swords and weapons into plowshares, to help them live in peace. And he needs arms and hands, feet and hands to go do that, right? So that's what this whole purpose, from Adam to the first resurrection, he is testing all of us to say, do you want to be a part of that? Do you want to be that? Because that's why he says, he's washing Peter's feet and he's like, the greatest in the kingdom is the least in my kingdom, right? Is those who want to be the least. So essentially not someone that wants to lord your power like the pagans do. They lord their power over others with oppression, but instead those who want to serve will be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So that is exactly the description of a priest. He selflessly serves the will of the Father to help other people understand the will of the Father. Sometimes that requires patience with people not understanding, so you have to teach them the law. Other times they go through persecution. Other times you have to do the dirty work, like help them mikvah people, right? Whether it's washing their feet or helping baptize them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just depends on the nature of the service.
Yeah.
But from Adam to the point of the first resurrection, the Father is building an unstoppable force of Melchizedek priests that are going to be under the authority of Yeshua, so they can be used during the millennial reign to bring in an amazing harvest of those people that he allowed to repopulate throughout the millennial reign, the people with the right type of hearts, the teachable hearts. And then imagine a world where Satan's locked up, unclean spirits are in the lake of fire. Unrighteousness will not be tolerated anymore on the earth. Deception, wickedness, gain, rape, murder, none of that's tolerated anymore because God's law is enacted on the earth. Now you got 1,000 years for this unstoppable, glorified, resurrected priesthood to go to all the nations, to all these quote unquote Gentile nations, and minister to them and teach them how to get engrafted into Israel so they can make the second resurrection of the righteous. It's a beautiful story where his harvest at the end of the millennial reign is going to be, like, in my opinion, like 100 times bigger than the people that took part in the first resurrection, because they've had 1,000 years of uninterrupted goodness to go out and teach people how to do love and walk in love and why they should love God. And they get to literally 3 times a year, they got to go to the New Jerusalem for the feasts. So they're going to get to see the Messiah. They're going to get to see the glorified. I mean, they're going to fall in love with God. It's going to be an amazing concept. Now, I'm sure there's going to be some outliers, some rebellious. This is why you have Zechariah 14 and Revelation 27-10. But ultimately, as like in the big picture, the harvest that he's going to bring in at the end of the millennial reign is going to dwarf the first resurrection. It's going to be amazing. And so it's going to be a massive, massive family of God that's able to enjoy the entirety of the creation model at the end of the story. So, anyway, sorry, I don't mean to elaborate too long. I just want to encourage you guys.
No,
I need
to
do a better job making an actual timeline to show people, like a graphic of some sort, to show, like, who takes part in which resurrection. And I haven't made it yet. So
thank you.
Diego, you're welcome to stick around if you like. I think Jonathan,
good point.
I think you may have had a couple more points you were trying to make. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I just was going along with that same theme. Let's say the first resurrection faces no second death, right? So those who go in the first resurrection only die once, to be raised to eternal life. So yeah, just to back scripture up with everything that you said there. And then I believe you're on the same page as what I believe is that the second Exodus isn't an earthly event. It is actually the first resurrection. I don't know where you stand on that, or you probably have elaborated in other videos, but
so you're saying you think the second Exodus is what we're referring to as the first resurrection?
Correct. Or do you think, or do you believe that that's a physical earthly event to where, like,
what are you
going
defining?
To walk out, like walking out of Egypt? Do you believe that people are going to walk to Israel or the New Jerusalem, the land, area, the promised land? People are all going to walk to New Jerusalem physically on the earth?
No. The first resurrection is described as something that from everywhere under heaven,
gathers.
The wheat are pulled by angels. Matthew 13:30. So when we study Matthew 13, the whole book, the angels are called the reapers. They're all called the servants that are sent out to harvest the wheat to the barn, and that's from everywhere under heaven that they're scattered. So they don't centralize first inside of the modern geographical boundaries of Israel and then get taken up. I know that's a popular second Exodus narrative, and honestly, I would encourage people to look into the origins of that narrative, because it did not come from a Christian. And a lot of people don't realize this, but it comes from a guy who's actually not even, he calls him Shmuel Asher. And he wrote a book in the late 70s, early 80s about the second Exodus. And it's this idea of people being drawn from every nation, and the Atlantic Ocean splitting, and people walking on dry ground. Yes. That did not start with a Hebrew roots or a Christian Torah observant person. That started with someone that rejects Christ. He's actually a vegan who thinks that God of the Old Testament is a horrific God because he instituted sacrifices. He thinks Jesus is more of a pacifist God. So he actually, I would not personally take any suggestions of eschatology from that particular guy. A lot of people in the Hebrew roots community that have heard of this idea of a second Exodus do not realize that was the origin of that term or that concept. So this is why we're always talking about the resurrection, the first resurrection. It's so important. It's the covenant promise between man and God. Is like, hey, if you practice my commandments, I'll give you eternal life. And then there's, of course, a specific time when these things happen. So this is what the last trumpet is. The dead in Christ raise. The angels are sent out to gather that new fresh wheat that's raised up to eternal life and take it to the New Jerusalem to avoid the wrath of the Lamb. So this is what Isaiah 26 verses 19 through 21. It talks about this process that the spirits of God are risen, or the spirits that God owns, if I could say it like that. It says, your dead will live, your spirits will rise. And then it says, hide away, my people, come to your rooms, because the Lord is about to come out of his habitation, and his wrath is about to consume the wicked. So this is why Paul would describe us meeting him in the air at his coming. Like, we're being resurrected and taken by the angels gathered from all over the earth to be taken to the New Jerusalem. And Yeshua at the same time is coming down with a bunch of warrior angels to fight the battle of Armageddon and to take out the first and second beast, to lock away Satan, to, like, there's a process, there's a battle he's coming to fight. And I know there's some Christian denominations that teach the resurrected saints get resurrected and then immediately come with Christ to go battle people, but that's not what we see in Scripture at all. So we are protected away to the New Jerusalem, and then as that New Jerusalem is slowly descending to the earth, Yeshua is beneath it on the ground, fighting the battle of the day of the Lord, which is a thorough routing of all the evil kings of the earth, as well as the unclean spirits and Satan, the first and the second beast. The whole mystery Babylon kingship and all of their subservient familiars, like all these people are being rounded up and killed and removed from power so that they can stand judgment once the kingdom comes down and the throne of Yeshua is on the earth. So this is there's a fun, I'm going to be going into this in greater depth in my 42 series. So I don't know if you have a chance to, if you've ever seen that or not, that we do on the channel, but that's my understanding of it, at least.
And that's where I know you've spoken about it, but there, like you said, in a lot of, even in the if you want to call it Hebrew roots, but in the Torah pursuant crowd, there's this idea that it's a physical second Exodus, and like you said, that comes from somewhere that's not in alignment with where I am, or where we are, or where we want to be, you know.
Respectfully to other Torah teachers that hold to that idea, this is why I said we're always talking about the first resurrection and all the details involved in that event, because they're pulling from verses in Jeremiah that talk about the first resurrection, and they just don't get it. Yes, this idea of a greater Exodus is used in Jeremiah, but when you understand what it's actually talking about, and you put them all the descriptions together from all the prophets and all the New Testament, there's only one time when all the saints are regathered, and that's at the last trumpet, the day of the Lord, when they get their incorruptible bodies. So it's kind of some important qualifiers in there that I never hear get talked about from those who teach that specific doctrine.
Right. So, where do you stand as far? Well, I've heard just said earlier in the broadcast tonight that there's not like a definitive time where Scripture reveals where the Messiah might have been created, and I've talked to other brothers and sisters about this, and I'm not saying that this is the gospel by any means, but what was the first spoken words in the Genesis story? What was the first spoken word of the Father? Was light be. Yeshua says, I am the light of the world. The Torah is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And we've been, seeing that Yeshua was the Word made flesh, right? So if the first spoken word of the Father was light be, could that have been the time when the Messiah was brought forth as light? He is the Torah embodied in flesh. He is the light of the world. It separated light and darkness. It wasn't necessarily day and night, but truth from falsehood, righteousness from wickedness. There was a separation drawn in that first uttered word of the Father. Do we have it right there in the first couple of verses of Genesis that when Messiah was brought forth?
Real quick, Jonathan, I think there's a speaker going on in the background, and the audience is saying that they're hearing a lot of feedback.
I apologize. I went into the settings and took my my mic off my phone and put it onto my headset. So let me go back into the mic settings here and see if I can fix it. I apologize.
It's okay.
Hey, Sean, I'll jump off in case it's me. Thanks for everything
Diego,
you and
thank
Lizzie
you.
are
Good
doing.
to see you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not picking up
I think
our conversation in my head, so maybe it's just going off my phone.
So do you have your phone? Okay, so you have your earplugs plugged in your phone. Can you use the speaker on your phone and not your earphones?
Yeah, let me check that real quick. Let's see. Yeah, I love this format. This is really cool that we can let's go speak. All right. And I'll back out of that. Yeah, this is cool.
Okay, let me try it now. Much better. Yeah, I can't hear any feedback at this point. Let me know what you guys think in the audience in the live chat. I think that was the fix. No worries. So, me personally, I believe that Yeshua existed with the Father before the world was created, which is what I think he's trying to communicate in John 17:5. Okay? On day one, the heavens and the earth were created. So that is a creation. That is something that happened.
Right.
So my understanding, the Father and the Son were already, the Son was already created before day one. So the light that I think he's referencing in Genesis 1:3 is the light that illuminates heaven and all of the beings in heaven, all the angels that were created on day one. The same angels that Job 38:7 says, watch the rest of creation and they shouted for joy, right? When they watched the foundations of the earth being laid. So I think that this is the same light that is being referenced in 1 Thessalonians 5:5-8, when it talks about we're not children of the darkness, we're children of the light. And it's an allusion to our coming resurrection, as well as in Revelation 22, verse 5, and it talks about those who are in the New Jerusalem, that God will illumine them. Now, this isn't some Kabbalistic kind of concept of enlightenment. This is literal, like your resurrected spiritual body that allows you to be next to the river of life inside the New Jerusalem in Revelation 22:5 is illuminated. You're gonna be a light bulb, a human light bulb, right? Just like we see Yeshua can light up, just like Moses had that radiating leftover glory because he was on top of Sinai next to the angels for 40 days. So your eternal body is made of water and spirit, not dirt and spirit. So your eternal body can illuminate lights as we see the angels do. Resurrected Yeshua does. If he was the one that showed up to Paul in Acts chapter 9 and blinded Paul. So like, do you see this promise that your resurrection body will be illumined with light? That to me is the light of immortality of heaven above that we do not have on the earth below, but all of heaven is already illuminated with lights. So this is why you would have the distinction in Genesis 1 between him saying to the freshly created heavens before day 2, right? Before he created the firmament over the earth on day 2, still in day 1, he says to those freshly created heavens, let there be lights. But then the earth was darkness, right? So he had to put the sun and the moon in the firmament to shine down upon the earth and the enclosure he made on day 2 for the earth in order for that to have its own source of light. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that would be my understanding from the timing of Yeshua, his words about when he existed versus the actual process of the creation model. That's just my understanding anyway.
Right. And I mean, I guess technically, if you look at, the first verses are kind of an introduction of where we were as the earth being formless and void in darkness. And then the Father spoke over that darkness and created something new, something that wasn't there. And I it's a good point what you're saying. Revelation 22:5, and they will need no light because the Father and the Son will be the light and illuminate the city. It says you'll need no sun. It doesn't say the sun won't exist, right? But it says that they will illuminate the city. Is that I will be a light to the city, as I will be illuminated, or is that them actually being the light that I won't need any other source?
Well, it says that in Revelation 1, I believe it says or 21, it says that the Almighty is the light and the Lamb is the lamp.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know how metaphoric we take that. I don't know how literal we take that. I just know that that God is in him is light. That's how he can speak and light can come into being. So do we understand that to be? I understand that to be the New Jerusalem itself will not have need of the sun and moon and will be illumined by God. Right. But the individual glorified resurrected body, which as other spiritual bodies have exemplified, they can emanate their own light. They can radiate light. For example, even the rebellious spiritual angel, Satan, can be a deceiving angel of light, right?
Disguise himself.
So, yeah, that's the capability of that body type. Yeah,
the ability to do that. Yes.
Yeah. So if the Father and the Son existed before everything was created, and then he said, "Let there be light," that makes perfect sense if they can already cause light to emanate from themselves. And specifically, since we don't even know what light is. We know what water is to a degree. We know we can replicate water to the point of H2O, right? We know we can put some gases together, it forms water. We still can't understand how truly it works. According to a lot of scientists, they're baffled by it. We also know what soil is, right? We know it's a mixture of sediments from crushed earth and rock and different nitrogen and different things. We know what a crystalline firmament type structure is for, we know what these ideas are, but scientists try to figure out what is light, and it's very difficult for them to do.
I have no idea what it is, right? Electricity, which produces light, we have no idea what it is. We only know how to harness it and use it to our benefit very wastefully, like heat loss through, creates light. But yeah, exactly. That's the mystery of And what do you think of that? Like, just to jump. Sorry, I'm jump around.
It's okay.
But light is this. It's the same subject. What about like it says the earth is filled with his esteem, or the term glory.
The glory.
Father fills the earth, and Tesla's idea that there was this ether, this energy that's all around us all the time. Is that the presence of the Almighty in His creation of this light energy that is all around us? This supposed free energy that's just here, and the earth is filled with it. I don't know. It's a
Well, we got Zetetic West.
It's rabbit trail, but yeah.
Yohanatan, it's okay. Zetetic West, what do you think about that question? Is the light of God also the ether of the creation? Welcome.
Yeah, I would think it would be the kind of guiding force behind everything, kind of what's originally been pushing everything, or from the origin, I guess. Yeah, okay. I can go with that.
I can't prove it either way, but it's a wonderful theory.
Right. I like it.
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you, brother. I'm trying to give everybody about 5 to 10 minutes tonight, so everyone has time to talk. Thank you so much for your thought-provoking questions and analysis.
Appreciate everything, guys. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and bounce off and give somebody else a chance. So thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, guys.
All right. Zetetic West and Yohanatan. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you said right. Yep. Yohanatan. Yep.
Yeah. Welcome, guys. Zetetic West, you were first, brother. What would you like to say tonight?
Nothing. I was going over some of the stuff from your Investigating Babylon series and a bunch of other stuff. I sent you an email about the path of Mother Babylon and just some stuff that I've been looking at with Artemis, and also where all the megalithic structures are around the world. They're all in the same parallel, and it makes a circle, a perfect circle.
Okay.
And I think, based off of what I can see in the imagery with Zeus and Artemis, it looks like she holds a halo over her head on one of the statues of Zeus, and I think that would be the path over Earth, or that's what she's representing.
Okay.
And the megalithic structures around Earth could be the course of that. All the big megalithic structures.
I was going to ask you to define, which.
Yeah, the main ones, all the main ones, the huge ones, the pyramids, Easter Island, you name it. All the main ones are all on the same parallel, and they make a perfect circle.
Okay.
So it doesn't make sense.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to ponder it as you talk about it, because I know that, well, for one, like I've alluded to in my Investigating Babylon series, that in addition to the higher tech that obviously a fallen angel would know how to make, right? In addition to the higher tech of being able to have some sort of levitating home base that he could cause to be at a certain altitude from the perspective of the person on the ground, to be deceived into a different cosmology as a result of that, right? That's a great deception right there, and there's a lot of effort put into that deception. But I've alluded to with part 19 of my clip, where I used a little portion of Rob Skiba in one of his videos from the past, where he's reading from I can't remember the guy's name, from the 19th century.
Robotham?
And they're talking about Robotham, yeah, and they're talking about dark bodies in the sky that are observed, and it's more than one.
Yep.
And that's the thing I've slightly mentioned from time to time, but I just want people to focus on the reality of, hey, this Satan character is a real entity, and he has a place where he puts his feet up. Like that's an idea there. And so even if it's not the actual dragon's lair in that specific circle, which I think personally it is, because it makes so much sense why they glorify that, and the eclipses that are caused by that, there could be other dark bodies up there that could also be in an elliptical pattern of some sort, or a circular pattern, to make a halo. And I agree with you. Yeah, the halo is definitely something that they seem to include in all their little symbolism, so it's a good theory. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I wish there was a way to figure out, like, I haven't found any ancient texts that show, the specific path documented of Rahu and Ketu or anything like that.
Sure.
Or of the, I haven't been able to, maybe that's some of the hidden stuff, you know, amongst the secret societies, is they know exactly, which is why they can predict eclipses.
Well, and sure, and if you had an eclipse lined up on these megalithic structure sites, I mean, I'm sure that would be a pretty big deal for them too. So
yeah,
that'd be the occultist of occultist events to go to. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I'll have to look into that further. So what? So I don't remember exactly the parallel the Eastern Islands on, but you're saying that the parallel that would be a circle on a biblical cosmological map that runs through Easter Island also runs through what, mainland China and then over through Egypt.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see that.
I can. So I could. Yeah. So I'm looking at Asia. So it runs through the southern portion of Asia and then to, I guess I'm trying to see the.
Trying to make it a better perspective for you.
Egypt and Assyria and all that. I got you. Okay. Yeah, bro, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
But yeah, I know that
on
that the other day. I was looking through some of your slides and just a nerd looking through your stuff and
that's fine.
Kind of something clicked. So
yeah. Let me see. Can I see that again? Does it show where does it go through Central or South America? Okay, so it goes down into like Argentina, Peru area, huh?
Mm-hmm.
On a now, what kind of map are you? Is that like a top-down globe wrapped?
Yeah, you can find this one pretty
map?
easy. You can find it pretty easy. You could probably just Google megalithic structures, same parallel.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find it pretty easy.
But that's not the traditional AE-FE map, right?
It's I can't remember what it still has. Like even you can see kind of like where they would believe Antarctica would have been.
Gotcha.
But I can't remember what they call it. They still want to call that, if you could like spread out their version of the planet, like the normal planet, where Antarctica would still be ducked off in the south.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact name though. But you can find it pretty easy.
Yeah, someday maybe we can all coordinate and just put a whole bunch of balloons up at 120,000 feet from Asia to Hawaii, all the way in a huge circle, and then we.
Well, I think they're all coming in now, right?
Right, exactly. Well, those aren't FE enthusiast balloons, unfortunately. But yeah, or maybe we could just tap into the balloons that are already up there. But yeah, that'd be amazing if we could get like a coordinated balloon launch amongst biblical cosmologists, and then slow them down and sync them all up with their data as far as what they filmed and show them all turning 360 at the same time, and we could piece together a huge panoramic of the outer portion of the circle of the Earth. That'd be pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
But we can't get people to stop arguing about whether it's an AE map or not. So I don't know if that'll ever be possible.
Yeah. Well, I coach wrestling. I coach a wrestling team, and
cool.
I had kids today that were nervous about the match. It was an individual state championship. And so I just started, you're nervous? So I started explaining biblical cosmology to them just out of nowhere. And about 8 of them, I still have 2 texting me now since this conversation. And I saw like their reality unraveled in front of me. But 5 of them had the best wrestling match of their life.
Yes. Yeah. Take that cog anger and then go out there and destroy it.
They were frustrated. What? This is what? How can you believe this? What? So it was great.
Yeah. Pin that shoulder on that flat map.
Yes, sir.
All right. Jonathan, hey, what's up, brother? What do you want to say tonight?
I just want to say shalom. And, I really love your approach to apologetics and just, kind of this approach of meeting people where they are. And I often think about how patient and
thank you, 𝐦𝐸𝐺𝐻.
Take care, brother. Shalom. But yeah, I often think about how patient the Father is with us when we, are going through all these deceptions and doctrines, and yet you see the division in the body today. You see us beating each other over the head with the Torah, and you pronounce the name differently, so you're not my brother anymore. Or you believe, you don't believe in the Trinity, so you're not in the faith. And, I think that's so heartbreaking because I think about what it might look like from the outside. People sticking their head in and seeing so much fighting and division and thinking, if this is what it's like to serve the Most High, if this is what it's like to walk in the Torah, I want nothing to do with it. We almost come off sometimes like a cult, you know. And yeah, that's really what I wanted to express tonight is, you know, where's the love? You know, we're told that we're known by how we love one another. And again, it just comes back to how patient the Father has been with us when we're kind of wading through these doctrines. And, you know, got that, you know, kind of like that small plant, you know, it's not capable of bearing that fruit yet. So then you got the taller plant kind of, you know, being divisive and beating it, you know. I don't know, but just something that's been on my mind a lot lately is how much division is in the body, and how much I'd love to see like unity and just people building each other up and saying, hey, you know what, you pronounce the name differently, but I'm just happy you're searching for the truth, brother. I love you anyway. Hey, you keep a different Shabbat than me. I'm just happy you're keeping the Shabbat. Praise Yah. You know, so it's just like, I think we have more in common than we have, you know, and it's just, I'd love to see, you know, an awakening in the body where that's concerned.
I always try to remind people that the thief on the cross, that Yeshua said, I promise you today, you will be with me in the kingdom, right? He did not espouse, articulate, or pass any kind of test of doctrine. Exactly. He just said, he didn't even directly say, hey, Jesus, I believe that you're the Savior, confess my sins to you, ask you into my heart. He didn't even say that typical altar call prayer. He literally just hanging there dying said, would you please remember me when you come into your kingdom? That was enough for the Son of God, who makes the decision on who gets in or not, who gets eternal life or not. That was enough for the judge to be like, I got you. I promise you, you'll be with me in paradise. So like, he wasn't a Trinitarian. He wasn't a oneness. He didn't care about pronouncing his name improperly or he didn't say, Jesus didn't respond to him and say, how do you say my dad's name? Like, no, there was no test. It was just simply, yeah, I promise you, man, you'll be with me in paradise, because he could see that dude had faith. You know what I mean? And that's really, so at the end of the day, I love that extreme example of the thief on the cross. He did, in a sense, say, look, we deserve what we're here for. So he showed humility and he showed faith that Yeshua was who he says he was. And I think it's pretty fascinating, because it makes me wonder what kind of experience or what kind of exposure that guy had to Yeshua before he was caught and convicted to be crucified alongside Yeshua. So like, was he in jail hearing about all this stuff happen, or was he just arrested 2 weeks earlier and now he's on trial? You know what I'm saying? Like, and he had been in some of the rallies that he saw Yeshua speaking at some point, saw people getting healed. Like, we don't know who this guy was. It doesn't matter, because all he showed us in his few little statements was enough for the king who makes the decision. Hey, yeah, you can be with me in my Father's house. Like, that's, so yeah, definitely. That's, I appreciate your sentiment, brother. And I think that's a wonderful message everyone needs to remember is we got to show our love. That's what distinguishes us. Absolutely.
Definitely. 100%. Well said, brother.
Absolutely. Well, we got some more calls coming in here. Oh, looks like my wife is here. She's wearing her blue light blocking glasses.
I was going to say, she kind of looks familiar.
You went on mute. You went on mute, actually.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can't hear anybody, actually. I don't know what's going on.
Hello.
What's going out.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you guys.
Okay. Sorry.
Sean's fault.
Headphones were dying. All right. Well, hello, wifey. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually just calling to say I'm going to bed. Good night. I love you.
I love you too. Good night.
Good night, baby. I'll see you later.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
Oh, come on, guys. Y'all are adorable.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
That was sweet.
Yeah, we normally do prayer time before bed, but I didn't know how long this was going to take. And she doesn't always go to bed at the same time.
Like, I know you said you usually are up late studying and stuff, but after the Q&A, I figured, you were probably, pretty tired from being on camera all that time. No, people don't understand. Like, I study, if I'm not helping out with stuff with Lighthouse or whatnot, I'm studying I'm always studying the Bible, because I'm always making content based off of it. So it's like, I could talk about it 12 hours a day. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. Well, so we're commissioned here, right? Day and night, study the Torah.
That's right. At night I rise to praise you, Father. I just think of David's psalm. John's back. John, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, thank you. I had one more theory that I wanted to share, and it's somewhat like a modern day interpretation or twist of the parable of the sower I would like to share with you. And then you guys can judge whether or not it makes sense or it's irrational or illogical. I can sum it up really briefly.
Sure, bro. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you guys. Okay, so we're all familiar with technology, and I believe that Satan is going to be using technology similar to how computers are hacked. So I'm an information technology researcher, and I'd like everyone to know that a computer or device that lacks integrity, proper protocols, or protection can be hacked, controlled, accessed remotely, attacked, and even launch attacks against others through malicious software or code known as rootkits, viruses, malware, and backdoors. So malicious software or programs disguised as trustworthy can trick users into opening and installing without even realizing. And with that, their system and device can be now under the control of someone else or group of individuals with instant access to their data, camera, microphones, keystrokes, networks, etc., and at any time. So even if a device's operating system and software, like an antivirus or malware protection, comes from a quote unquote trusted source and is quote unquote up to date, if it lacks the information or code to identify all threats, such as zero-day malware, malicious code that exploits unprotected vulnerabilities, and or backdoors, nearly secret and undetectable way to control, the device can be taken over. So I've even encountered malicious software so persistent, attempting to remove it initiated the malware to reinstall itself. And this is because the software running on the hardware lacked the integral code or information that can identify and remove the threat for good. So the major problem I feel and I think we're facing today is that even our brothers and sisters, and especially the non-believers, they're relying on man-made code and haven't installed or updated the ultimate code, which comes from the Holy Bible. And this reminds me of the parable of the sower, where Jesus says some minds have deep-rooted lies, and when the truth comes, it doesn't take root because those weeds choke out the seeds of life. So it was just something I'm writing a book about, and I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope it maybe helps to see that maybe our brothers and sisters, their system has been hacked because they haven't updated the complete code just yet, and they're still vulnerable. And there's kind of like a computer spreading a virus and don't even know they're spreading it.
Sure, yeah. It's a good analogy for sure. It's like we get bad programming because of the lies of the world and the destructive behavior we encounter. So we definitely spread that. Now, from a psychological therapeutic standpoint, there's a famous saying that describes what you described from a technical standpoint, and that is hurting people hurt people.
Yeah.
So, I definitely think that's a good technical description from a coding standpoint. Five. It's Paul's saying it's good that we refresh our minds with the washing of the water of the word. Right? We need to continually reprogram some good code into us. I believe that.
Yeah, well stated. Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to share that with you guys. I wish you all the best tonight, and I'm just going to go back in the chat and listen. And
all right, thanks,
Sean, and thanks, everyone.
Yeah, no problem.
God bless you, brother. Take care.
And looks like we have a Warrior of Yah's joined us. Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Sean? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you and see you well.
Perfect. Is it?
What do you want to talk about?
Well, since there's theories floating around, and I just started watching Investigating Babylon again, figured I'd toss in my little theory. I also listened to a podcast called Blurry Creatures. Have you heard of that?
I tried to reach out to them for an interview, never heard back.
Oh, dude. That's got to happen, man, because I think they
Help me out.
I have the time. I'm a roofer. So
that's my problem. I don't have the time. There's hundreds and hundreds of people I try to reach out to, but like people, if you could see the email threads, like there's a show got coming up. We've already exchanged like 20 emails for one broadcast. Now imagine me trying to reach out to hundreds of people.
Right.
And then sometimes like a few days ago, I had a pastor I was talking to whom he agreed. And then he wanted me to submit questions to him before he agreed to the interview. And then he approved the questions. And then he wrote back a few days after that. So after we exchanged like 9 or 10 emails, then he wrote back a few days after that and said, someone told me not to go on your show. You're too far outside of Orthodox. So I'm not gonna go on your show. And I was like, bro,
yeah,
someone that
come on, man.
But the point is that was 12 emails wasted over multiple
Mhm.
days, and we're
Mhm.
not talking like short 1 sentence emails. Like I have to
No,
introduce myself. I have to
exactly.
explain the purpose of what I'm saying. Sometimes they want all the questions ahead of time.
Mhm.
Because honestly, I call them out. They're afraid. They can't just take a real conversation. So,
Right.
Multiply that times all the people out there I'd love to talk to and be in a virtual room with. And that's why I jokingly tell people, hey, if there's someone you want me to interview, help me out. Go reach out to them for me and help me get that conversation started.
Right. No, it'd be awesome to see you collaborate with those two just on one episode, blow their minds with the dark star in the sky, so to speak.
Talk about a blurry creature when people try to fight.
Right. Like, that's what my theory. Well, before I get into that, man, like, dude, you are awesome. I can't give you enough accolades. I know you get them all the time, and you're a super humble guy. But, bro, you and Ken and Wes just changed my life, man.
Cool, thanks.
It's amazing.
Appreciate that.
Not necessarily you guys, but just the way that you guys do content. I mean, the Father moved in my life through you guys big time.
Yeah, we try to make the word interesting again, right? We try to open it up to, what's the biggest way possible to teach this book that everyone can like not get lost or so frustrated with it that they give up, but they keep wanting to read it. So it's
exactly.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the compliment. I hope that what we're trying to do is having some sort of effect, because it's frustrating when all I want to do is for Christians to collaborate and show love to each other, no matter what denomination leaning you're inside of. But the enemy does not want that at all.
No,
like, I know it sounds cliche to be like, the enemy doesn't want us to unite because he know we would take over. But like, that's the reality, cliche or not, that's the reality of it. Like, there's constant unclean spirits creating strife and division amongst the brethren, so that we do not realize, if we just all were able to communicate with each other, we clear up all these misunderstandings. So this is why I'm always having people on who have different viewpoints, so we can get to the bottom of why are we disagreeing here, right? And it's usually how someone views the word at some point, someplace,
Yep, exactly. And for me, man, I've been a Christian since I was 5. Just grew up in the church. Was a Baptist, broke up because the pastor was unfaithful. Went to Nazarene church, non-denominationals, stuff like that. And I just never saw Matthew 5:17 through 20. I don't understand it, and I've never read. I'm not an encyclopedia like you, but having that much time in the faith, read the Bible a bunch of times. Tried to start to read the Bible a bunch of times. Obviously, when you start to read the New Testament, you read Matthew, and I don't know how many times I've read Matthew 5:17 through 20 and never picked that up. It's wild. But real quick shout out to your wife, man. She made a wedding ring for my beautiful wife, and it was awesome. Yep, dude, her wirecraft is something awesome.
She's doing great. She's about to, I think she's already passed me on IG. Well, for sure she's passed me on IG. I think she's got like 20,000 subs on IG or whatnot, but she's going to pass me on YouTube soon. And I told her, I was like, and it's hilarious because she's only made like, I don't know, 20 or 30 videos.
Right.
And, I've made like 700, and it's just, but the type of content that she makes is much more palpable for people to watch on Reels and TikTok and all that stuff. So, so yeah, she's probably going to pass me. I told her if she keeps at it, like in another year or two, she'll have like 100,000 views, 100,000 followers on IG and TikTok and Facebook. But she's super talented, and I'm so happy that she has the opportunity to do it.
Right. They are the best of us, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. So anyways, back to the theory. So listening to blurry creatures, like I said, I'm a roofer. So like when I'm roofing, dude, I got you or Ken or Wes or blurry creatures in, and just binge on your guys' content constantly every day.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. Shout out to Be Good, the Be Good podcast on Spotify. Yeah. Man, that guy or gal is awesome.
We're great. Like that's her own ministry there. She's taking clips and doing her own uploads, and
it's a sister. Cool.
Time I don't have, so we're greatly appreciative of stuff like that.
Right. No, that's how I found you guys. She had I think Ken's reading of Enoch. Did Ken read Enoch?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah,
that was the first one. I had a buddy who's like, "Hey man, you ever read Enoch?" And I'm like, "Man, that's that weird Christian stuff that I don't even get into. And then as soon as I gave it a chance, man, just found the nearest rabbit hole, right down that, came back up, next one. It was awesome. Anyways, all right. Besides all the rabbit holes, the theory with the blurry creatures, how they're talking about how the sightings of Bigfoot and Dogman and UFOs and aliens and all this stuff is on the rise. Granted, some of it's faked, for people who want to get clicks and all that sort of stuff. But could Mother Babylon and those other dark stars in the sky be the factories for these things? Are the unclean spirits inhabiting those bodies? Like they're creating these chimeric bodies, they're abducting people, taking genetic tissue, creating these bodies, and then are unclean spirits inhabiting them and then coming back down on earth on the surface.
It's a wonderful theory, whether they have deep underground bases where they do stuff like that, or deep underground cave systems from the past that they've always had that they do that, or whether they're literally doing it at a site with higher tech in the sky. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say without having Alex Jones sneak in and get some camera work.
I know. Come on, Alex.
It's hard to say.
He was $1 billion.
Obviously, I personally think that the Mother Babylon structure is literally like could facilitate many miles, right?
Yeah.
So you could have a lot going on within that, and over time, who knows what it's. I hate to say it like this, but I guess you would understand being in construction. Who knows over thousands of years what kind of renovation has been done to these ancient vimanas that can fly and be what the ancient Indians called the pushpaka vimanas, which are like city-sized vimanas.
Big ones, right?
Like you've got a structure that you know how to keep them in suspended flight. That's already accomplished. Now what do you do? Okay, well,
just add on.
You can remodel from time to time, depending on the culture of the century, what you need, the deception you need. Like it's already my theory that, certain leaders are being taken to these things already.
Yeah, big time.
To gain their allegiance and to show them like, look, this is just like Yeshua was. Like before Yeshua became a governor or prince or a king of anything, I think Satan was like, well, I'm going to do with him what I've done with other people, and I'm going to take him to this very high mountain that sees all the kingdoms of the world at once, and I'm going to
you can't without being flat plane.
He falls for it too. And so I think that they've already taken people. So when you're taking people there from first century AD versus the 21st century,
right?
Do you want the 21st century person that you might want to fool and take up there to show your amazing power and everything, and it's just an ancient Greek temple? Or do you want it to maybe look more modern and high tech and future? Like, will there be some reconstruction going on? I know
there'd have to be
like the serious weeds of this theory, but ultimately it's all about deception. And just like we know the facade of the culture that we're in now and all the deceptions that are built into that culture is a different facade than ancient Greece.
Yeah.
So
it changes things up,
redesigns the deception on the ground. It's possible they could do that so the factories themselves, I don't know. Is it like Elysium, like the movie, where you go up there and you show off your immense wealth and your sophisticated technology, and you deceive people that way, and maybe you show them, oh, here's all of our AI clone babies we're making, our genetic, Android style, things that we've automatons that we have perfected now after thousands of years, and we're here to help you, and we're going to be implementing it into your society to get your agenda passed, because we don't want to use a strong hand with the people, otherwise they'll rebel. So we have to subtly get into their governing systems and lead them to this better conclusion for them, or whatever lie narrative is told,
right. Yeah.
But ultimately that's, I couldn't say, man, underground in the sky, just on the ground somewhere in a desert that we never been to before. Like, who knows, man?
Yeah. You could, the desert part, they shoot all the Mars footage at some desert.
I heard a pretty wild theory a few years ago. I don't know if it was from Globebusters or someone else I was listening to. They were talking about how they think that they are going to try to pull off a Mars excursion, like sending humans to Mars, and that they're going to try to portray it as like they're going to build a big fake warehouse, huge warehouse, like a indoor Mall of America they'll build in the desert somewhere, and then of course be restricted, no one can get it to, it's military, and inside of it is just a fake habitat for filming a reality TV show of these astronauts on Mars.
Yeah.
And just as a furthering the lie and the deception. So I don't put it past them to do something like that too.
Right. Yeah. The, you know, when you're talking about changing up the renovations of Mother Babylon, you know, just like I was in drama in high school. So it's just basically a stage play, and they just change the backgrounds out for whoever's coming next for the next play. You know, every couple, 300-400 years, they change it up.
Yeah. And especially if you've already, I mean, like I read from, I think it was, can't remember which Greek poet I read from in, I think it was Home of the Gods, part 5 of Investigating Babylon. But he was talking about how Mount Olympus was described as Zeus already having automatons inside of his house, and that they would move in and out of the room depending on who walked in. So,
and like drones, right, Sean? Like flying machines, almost like drones.
Not flying inside of his house, but just like furniture pieces that would move around autonomously, depending on who's there and what's going on. So it makes me think, like, when you have advanced tech, I mean, you know,
sky's the limit.
It's like the origins of the idea for Transformers. You know what I mean? Like, you can make stuff reshape, reshift, design itself to look a different way. I mean, they're already even in our modern society, they're already bringing out this idea that they're going to make cars that you can change digitally with your cell phone. You can change the color of the car, the paint on the car.
I can see that.
So the paint itself is like digital. And so you can just change the color. So all kinds of tech like there. I mean, I remember reading 15 years ago about them putting PN junctions inside of paints, and they were wanting to paint buildings with liquid solar cells.
Interesting.
You know, so that the entire building becomes a solar cell. You know, and I don't know what happened with that. They said it was already invented, but I don't know if they implemented it.
Yeah, someone bought that and shelved that.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Keller Williams was like, yeah, let me go and buy that patent from you, and we need to keep having angry old retired men stir paint for you at the local Keller.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know how many theories you want to go down, how much time you want to spend on theories. But
you guys can bring up something that you want to talk about. We don't have any other people calling in right now. I think what we'll do to try to avoid that in the future is we'll just say, you got to show your face if you're trying to call in. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Until they create some sort of technology that allows me to.
Yeah, that's weird. You can't see them.
Yeah, I mean, I can see their camera requesting to come in, but if they don't show their face, then I don't know what's going to happen when they turn their camera on. And some people can't turn the camera on, right? So they don't know, like, because for whatever reason they're driving or whatever, they just want to do audio.
Right.
So yeah. All right. So we got Amy calling in tonight. Hello, Amy. How are you tonight? You're on mute. So take yourself off mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
There you go. Hey, we can hear you now.
Oh, okay, great. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome.
Good, thank you. I wanted to tell you that, you know how the Vimanas in the ancient Indian mythologies and texts and all that. Do you know that Robert Oppenheimer also got the idea for the atomic bomb from those same texts?
I've heard that, and I've thought that too because of the Bhagavad Gita text.
Yes, and he carried it around with him everywhere he went for like years.
Supposedly, he quoted it at the first test of the atomic, what they claim is an atomic weapon. He quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, saying he's now become a destroyer of worlds, which is
I have become Shiva, the destroyer of worlds. There's a book called American Prometheus that is just all about his whole life and everything. And it goes into great detail about how he studied all of these ancient Indian texts, and that literally is where he got the idea for nuclear fusion or fission.
The ancient Vedic texts talk about entire towns being destroyed with the flash of brilliant light.
Yes. But I mean, somehow he gleaned the actual technology from it.
Well, possibly. I know it's debated. right? I know it's
that's
debated.
what this book says anyway.
No, I hear
But,
you. I hear you. But yeah, if you take at face value everything the official narrative claims for the Manhattan Project and what they created, I know there's a lot of other scientists out there that do not agree with the official narrative, and they claim that you can create an explosion that looks the same just with regular demolitions. So, and it also creates a bit, you put enough of them together, it creates a big flash of light as well. So I don't know where I stand on that. I haven't really done a deep dive into all that research.
I do know too that there is an area in Africa. Have you heard about this with the green glass?
I guess not. I heard about blue glass.
Well, in Africa, there is an area where there's all of this green glass that could only have been produced from from the heat of like a nuclear explosion. And so there's nothing new under the sun, right? So at some point in the past, prehistory, pre-flood, who knows, that this technology existed before. That we're not the first ones who have had it.
Could it be some other type of tech creating that type of heat that we don't know of? But like all that we get from the sciences is,
right.
It's got to be a nuclear bomb.
Right. It's something like that. Some sort of extreme heat causing this production of this. You have to Google it and look it up. Just Google like green glass in Africa, because there's only one place that they found it, and that this green glass can only be produced from this like extremely high heat that can only come from what we know, the technology that we know of today, would have to be a nuclear reaction, to create this green glass. So just saying, it's possible that there's nothing new, that all of this is all just ancient technology that we have just, come about again.
Mm-hmm.
It's very possible. I mean, I know that, like I said, I mean, you got cultures in the past in ancient India talking about having the ability to not only have vajras, which literally can control flying machines in the sky, but also can control the weather, can emit forms of electricity in some way. But then you also have the tech that you can float an entire city that can hold thousands of people. You probably got some other tech too.
Right, of course. And we've got, we have the harp now that can control the weather somewhat, right?
But that's just like a big archaic version of what's described in the ancient text with the
Exactly. So I think all of this, there is nothing new under the sun. I don't think there is anything new. I think everything, we're just now coming up to the knowledge of the days of Noah.
Yeah.
I think that we're not quite there yet, but I think that we're, quickly coming, especially with all of the gene altering and the CRISPR technology. All of these things are leading us in a very bad direction. And all of these things. Mm-hmm.
The end goal, all of it, no matter how it's advertised with, and dressed up, the end result of it practically is the destruction of the human race.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's their stated goals when it comes to the whole transhumanism, agenda.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to depopulate us. They detest us. They hate the elites. They hate us. But I definitely think that it's all coming back full circle from what it was before. Everything's going to come around again.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt, I 100% believe that they do have the technology to float things, to levitate things. I believe that that's hidden knowledge that we don't know about, but there are elites that know that they're planning a breakaway civilization of some sort. But now they all know that they can't get outside of the dome. They all know that there's a dome, and they all
figured
know
that out in the 50s.
They know it. They don't want us to know it, but they know it 100%. They tried to shoot it down with the nuclear. They tried to shoot the thing
Operation
down.
Domino. Operation Dominic.
Operation
They
Fishbowl.
know it's up there.
Yeah.
They know it. 100%. They know it. So, they don't want us to know it, but I believe that they know it.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Do you think that's what the Days of Noah part is, where like the technology is already there. Like the elites have it, you know, Satan's in control of it up top. It's just the general public doesn't have knowledge of it. Like it's not out in the open. And that's what was the days of Noah, was it was out in the open. So like we're not necessarily that waiting for us to catch up technology wise. It's just waiting for the revealing of that technology to be out in the public.
Yeah, and I do think there's an alien. They're gonna put an alien spin on it.
Yeah, that's what they've been showing us, sure.
But I think that some of them may have escaped the flood by using this levitation technology that you're talking about.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think what happened was after the flood, as Jubilee states, is that writings and engravings from the Watchers and some of the wicked things that they were teaching humanity were found. Again, obviously, they tried to keep it from Noah, but it seems like that's kind of when the post-flood giants came about and a lot of the wickedness. So I'm not sure, but I've heard theories like that before, where there were some that survived the flood aside from Noah and his family. I just don't know if we have any scriptural backing for that.
Well, we know that one rebellious angel survived the flood, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
He's got enough tech. He's got enough information about that ancient tech to now post-flood start leading men to discover it again. So that's what's unique about First Enoch chapter 7 or I think it's chapter 6, is it describes that they were teaching, specifically 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐬's teaching mankind specific knowledge pertaining to deception, sexual illicitness, as well as warfare. So, and the workings of metals in general. So one of the descriptions about the ancient Vimanas that I reviewed on my Investigating Babylon series is that the craft itself and the metal that it's made out of has to be of a superior craftsmanship. And that's kind of the vague language that the ancient Indians described it as. These flying machines were of a specific, so we're not talking about a flying machine made of oak, right? We're made of concrete, right?
Right.
So it's interesting to me that regardless of theories about other humans or other Nephilim surviving the flood beyond Noah and his eight family members, we know the text already tells us there's an extremely intelligent, rebellious angel who was already teaching mankind this exact same knowledge, who survived the flood. And when we understand the makeup of angels themselves, they're made of water and spirit. Like he doesn't get drowned. You don't drown an angel.
No. I mean, you drown the Nephilim, the hybrids,
Sure.
but you're not gonna drown an angel, a fallen angel.
So
for sure.
And even according to the Book of Jubilees, chapter 10, even after the flood, that Nephilim, once their bodies were destroyed, their spirits were still on the earth.
Right.
They weren't in Sheol. They weren't in heaven above. They're on the earth.
Right.
And Noah's praying that he's complaining, hey, these are attacking my sons, leading them into sin. So that means, think about this for a minute. That means during the flood, during that year of the flood, in those waters, just
my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Have you heard the sounds from under the Euphrates? From there, they're saying that there's angels that are chained under the Euphrates, and it's drying up now. And there's a video going around now of there's sounds coming from the Euphrates River, and it sounds like chains rattling and loud howling, like unearthly. It's frightening. It's truly frightening.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't buy it, my sister, and here's why, right? Because I've had a couple of brothers and sisters bring this forward and saying, look, the Euphrates is drying up. Now the sounds of these messengers under the ground with the chains. But it took me literally seconds to go on YouTube and just type in simply sounds from a grave in Iran. And many years ago, that same audio was used to claim the same thing. And what it sounds like to me is like an old, poorly done Halloween audio or something that you play to, scare the children as they walk by. It was the same clip though. So it's funny to see it resurface now after all these years to, claiming something else. So I think it's so important that we really search things out before sharing them and saying, hey, this is prophecy, because then, if it took me seconds to debunk it, it can take them seconds, and then we, kind of get discredited. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that event out of order as well? The angels coming out of the Euphrates, isn't that kind of further along in the timeline, Sean?
from my understanding, what's the theory that we're comparing? Sorry, I was kicking more naked people out of the waiting room.
I don't know that I know the Euphrates River is drying up, and that is, supposed to be prophetic.
From what I read, that there is an actual dam that they built in Turkey, and that's one of the reasons the Euphrates losing its water volume. But specifically on the day of the Lord, which allows the kings of the east and their armies to come across the Euphrates so they can get to the Battle of Armageddon in northern Israel area, is at the end of the 42 months.
Yeah, that's going to be way. That's way. Yeah, that's
so
way.
we haven't even seen the revelation or the revealing, the public revealing of the first beast yet. So we
got a long way to go.
They could dry up the Euphrates for the next 20 years and then refill it up again, but depending on different treaties and or government organizational land boundaries and whatever the version of FEMA is they have over in Babylon or in Iraq and Turkey. But there's a whole bunch of other qualifiers before you get to that point in Revelation 7:1.
I think Damascus is going to be destroyed. That's going to be coming pretty soon. Like that'll come early on, I think, right? Damascus is going to be destroyed.
I'm not sure.
And we had an earthquake in Turkey. And that's terrible. I mean, there's like 10,000 people who are dead now. It's awful.
I'm sorry.
And parts of Syria.
Are you in Turkey right now?
No, I'm in Kentucky.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. My bad.
No, I live in Kentucky, but there was an earthquake, a huge earthquake in Turkey.
Okay.
A couple days ago, and there's like 10,000 people, and part of Syria, Turkey and Syria had a huge earthquake, and there's like 10,000 people dead.
I heard that.
And it's going up the amount of people that have died from it is just like going up and up every day. It's terrible, horrible. Yeah. But I think there's going to be a lot more things like that. We're in the birth pangs. I believe we're probably in the birth pangs of the beginnings, the very beginnings. So, and that could go on for a long time.
I'm sorry, Amy, you're cutting out.
No, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for having me.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Okay.
Shalom, sister.
Yeah, shalom, sister.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good night. I think there was a large delay at the very end.
Cutting out.
It's all good though. I think she said most of what she was wanting to say. Yeah, I've heard about the Euphrates drying up story too, and you see documentaries on it and different news articles, but
out of order.
There's just a lot of other stuff that has to happen. A lot of other stuff. I personally think, I'll be discussing this later and as we go further into the 42 series, but I mean, we haven't even seen the destruction of the Vatican yet. Right. I think that is the horror that the beast turns on once he shows up, because he can't allow another worldwide dominant form of worship that would possibly teach anything that would reveal who he is or compete with what he wants to do. So he's got to using it for a time, and then when its time's over, he's going to destroy it.
Right. Do you think the alien connection is probably going to be the next? Because once they come down, that's going to put a wrinkle in a whole lot of people's faiths. And I know that the Catholics have said that they will baptize the aliens.
It's pretty crazy, huh?
Yeah.
I tried to share at the end of my Investigating Babylon series and at the beginning of the 42 series here is that I believe there's a transitionary time period of many years, decades even, where there will be the quote unquote disclosure of aliens. You will see them. I don't know if they're going to be interacted with on public television. I don't think they're going to come out and give a speech at the UN or anything, but the leaders of the earth are going to be like, we are in contact with them. They're here to help. They're going to play the good guy role. And, oh, by the way, you're going to see strange things flying around. Get used to it. And then you have a couple generations of that. So the kids grow up thinking stuff like, destiny is real. Right? Stuff like the Traveler.
Right. Don't you think it'd be a little easier? I mean, all that would go on, like stuff in the air, but don't you think it'd be a little easier just to have one do a big giant speech, like from the UN or something like that on TV, because you'll get the government saying that, hey, we're working with them and all that stuff. Well, I think they've lost a ton of trust. I think there's just too many people that aren't necessarily Christian or this, that, or the other, but the governments are not trusted after what happened in COVID. So do we all have to die off before they could do that? Or do you think it'd just be easier with the CGI that they got going on or like a real blurry creature, be in front of the camera and say it, and then they'd catch a ton of people with that.
They could do it a variety of ways, but I was trying to reveal at the end of my Investigating Babylon series, the elites of the world are openly declaring what they want to do is over the next 50 years, they want to actually build livable habitats in the sky and develop two classes of people, a worker class on the ground, and then more of an egalitarian class, or like a upper class that lives in the sky.
Right.
To me, that would make a ton more sense if there's something that they acknowledge that's already up in the sky, that's not moving around, that's a ancient progenitor that's come back to visit us and has given us this technology to be able to build these habitats in the sky so that we stop hurting the earth on the ground below. It's all plays into their global climate change agenda. At least that's the way I see all these narratives piling together into something coherent. So that way you have from time to time this thing that floats through the sky. Zetetic West is back. Welcome, brother. You have this thing that floats through the sky from time to time that people in other livable habitats in the sky can see, but they maybe can't go there and interact with it. Because I mean, look, they already unveiled, this year they're unveiling they're calling it the first flying car, but it's not the first flying car. It's a marketing trick. They've had flying cars for a long time. They're just advanced or drones. You know what I'm saying? That have a more suitable occupant cargo area. Yeah, so like that's just going to increase in the next 20, 30 years to where, now we've got highways in the sky. Now in addition to regular flight travel, now we've got specific destinations that your little drone will take you to a livable habitat in the land 30, 40 years from now. Think about how much advancement we've seen in the last 30, 40 years.
Right. Yeah. Big time.
You know what I'm saying? So like the world could be almost unrecognizable in 50 years in first world nations as they integrate the narrative of, well, we got this tech from this guy, this man that looks like us. He's figured out this advanced tech and he's come back through the solar system to help us because, space travel, the space fabric of time and all that nonsense. And like, it was only 3 months for him, but it's been 6,000 years for us, like all that BS. Yeah. So there's so many ways they could spin it with what they've already put into the narrative to bounce upon for a different lie. And so, it could be very much what you're saying. It could be a totally different narrative we both haven't thought of yet.
Right. True.
Yep. Pray for discernment, right?
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is we've got the tuning. I hate to use this term, but we've got the tuning fork, right? We know if we stick with the word of God, all the lies are going to bounce off, right? We're going to be able to find amongst the dirt the worth. So, what's up, Les? You're back.
Yeah, I was gonna chill out, but I decided to come back. I'll say y'all started talking about some stuff. So, have y'all seen all these balloons and stuff that have been popping up? Of course, I don't believe they're from China, but I have seen videos of whatever's coming off of these balloons. Looks like they're projecting something into the sky. And I know, is it JP? Is that your name?
Who, this guy?
You.
Me?
I'm Sean.
Yes. John?
Oh no, this is I'm Sean, and we also have
what was his name?
And
Sorry,
I'm Dustin, but I go by Warrior of the Yaw.
Yeah, Justin. I'm sorry, I thought it was John.
Dustin, like Dustin Hoffman.
You brought up about like the giants and stuff, that people were saying that these things were projecting stuff into the sky. It looked like green lasers and stuff were projecting off of them. So of course that came into theories of, could they be projecting what people have been seeing, like the video with the giant on the mountain and so on and so forth. That could be like the Project Bluebeam that went around for the last 4 or 5 years about projecting stuff into the sky. That could perpetuate the alien invasion. I mean, all they have to do is bombs over here, gunshots over here, something in the skies flying around. I mean, it's just another 9/11 with stuff that might not even really be there, in the sky. Right. But I saw that yesterday, that they were projecting something that was over Hawaii a balloon that was saw was projecting something into the sky.
Huh.
So,
yeah.
I think that all the satellite dishes around the world that are looking in space and listening into space, I kind of get the feeling that those are projecting like the stars that you can't see with the naked eye or the optical telescopes. Like you have to have the radio telescope, the electronic telescopes to see the stars that you can't see.
Mhm.
All the goofy pictures they show us of nebulas and stuff like that.
Sure.
Like I think that those are what are causing that. So when you buy like the really expensive electro whatever telescope, when you look up there, it just picks up on the frequency and the code or whatever they're projecting up in there, and you're like, oh yeah, like how is space fake? Like I bought this telescope and I pointed into the sky. Well, there's hundreds of thousands of giant satellite dishes all around the world projecting that onto the firmament, which is electricity itself.
And I've got a P1000, so I shoot stars and stuff all the time. And I have
cool.
buddies that have telescopes, and we compare them. And they're like, dude, there's no way. That's not what I see. My telescope is this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, I'm literally showing you. I'm zooming in on it, and this is what I'm seeing.
Well, Rob 𝐥𝐸𝐬 said to be wary with the P1000 because he spent his entire life gazing at the stars with an optical telescope.
Mm-hmm.
That's just something that that I like to throw out there when people talk about the P1000. I was like, well, brother Rob, God rest his soul.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't the P900 also have a like 84 times telephoto zoom? That's not optical, but it's digital.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, I get it. Like I know that there's I don't want to say conspiracy, but there's a theory that some of these high digital image enhancing zoom features within telescopes and cameras in the last 10 years have already been pre-uploaded with certain things. Certain images basically based on the GPS within the system to know if you're looking at a certain point of the sky, it's going to show you stuff basically in the lens. I don't know if that's even possible within the construction of an actual high digital imaging zoom, but something to consider. Because I agree, it's weird that they suddenly have these telescopes that they say they're looking into deep space and they come back with all these gaseous nebulas and all these.
Yeah.
But then when you look into it, you're like, oh, they say that they come back as like they apply artistic effects to those things to begin with.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you trying to pass it off as an actual photo of some sort? And of course,
and the average person doesn't even understand a lot of the astro photographers. I mean, it's their artist depiction of they're spiffing up the pictures that they took. I mean, they're beautiful photos. Don't get me wrong, I'm a photographer myself, and they're beautiful. But it is
colors
art.
Ain't really there. Yeah,
it's art. I mean, it's art. They're gorgeous, but it's still art.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of people I showed them the pictures of the moons that I take, and then they'll show me pictures of these astrophotographers, and theirs looks like a ball in space, but mine looks like it's halfway in out of water. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I've always thought that the moon, not always, but since I've been studying the topic, I've thought the moon was some form of plasma that gets electrically charged, and that's how it grows and diminishes in its light. So I can't replicate it with an experiment, but that's
what I would agree with the craters are from. From
the electrical discharge or the electrical current.
Right.
And
they're all circle. Like if something's coming down, wouldn't it splash?
Right. And it'd probably still be there.
There's no skids or scratches. It's all just perfect 90-degree impacts. If it was a ball in space, it's pretty wild. And also, what I feel like some of the shading of the irregular shading of the craters themselves is as if it's light reflected back from the firmament that it's in front of.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just my theory as far as why there's irregular shading on it.
It's so interesting. I mean, I just love to stare at it. That's why I love my camera, dude. I stare at it every night.
That's awesome.
I've heard people, think about maybe some of the craters and like the positions of the shading. Maybe like the moon is somehow like a reflection of the Earth somehow. You guys heard that theory yet?
Yeah, I saw a lot of it last year. A guy, I can't remember his name. He did a really good. I think he put out like a book and booklets and all kind of stuff on it. It was pretty interesting.
I guess I need to see more info on it because I'm not sold on that idea.
No, I'm not.
It was interesting. It really was.
It was close.
Some craters in the theory for sure.
Right. It was like you take the moon upside down and like a negative of it or something like that, and it's got continents. Yeah. It's pretty close, but I don't think it was like super close.
No.
I think some of the theories that derived from that initial theory was the parts of it that did not match what we know of from the maps that are given to us must be the hidden land that they're hiding.
Right.
Outside the ice wall, you mean?
Yeah.
No, but within the ice wall.
Okay. Because I know people think there's also outside the ice wall. There's a couple little places you can't quite get to. They're only for the elite or something, you know.
Skull Island, aka
Skull Island.
I truly feel like that just on the map that they do show us, there's plenty of area for there to be an entire other continent.
Like I was in the Navy. I was in the Navy. I've been around the world just in ocean. I mean, dude, it's insane. It's nuts.
Go
insane.
directly, not according to GPS, but just go directly south of Hawaii, about 1,000 miles, and there's a massive gap of just nothing but water, supposedly on the map that they show us. It's so huge. Like there could be a whole nother Australia-sized continent down there. It's like
the Battle of Midway, like all that stuff down there, like even with the nuke blast and stuff, dude. There's nothing there. I mean, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the entire Japanese fleet disappeared there. So
yeah,
it's like a Truman Show moment. You imagine?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, even in the Navy, man, the open water, it's insane. And we used to debunk the globe every night on Gunmount Watch and just never knew it. We would report contact. We would report contacts like 30 to 50 miles away, and get told by the guys on the scopes and the radars that the next contact at that bearing is over 30 miles away. You shouldn't be seeing that. Well, then I would zoom in, or I would check it out with the binos or whatever and report, it's this, it's that. Is it doing this? Yeah. Well, that's what I'm seeing. There's no way. It must be the atmosphere is pulling it, the reflection back to you. It's like, okay, dude.
It's
and then we
magical,
just go back to talking
magical reflections, aren't they?
Oh yeah, dude. It was all kinds of
that's
how we were trained. That's how we were trained. So we would just whatever, dude. Go back to
that refraction can pull it up all the way across the globe.
Yeah.
Somehow.
That's all it is.
Somehow. I was in the Marine Corps, brother. So
you were doing
thank you for your service. No, I didn't do any news.
Okay.
No, went to Afghanistan.
I got you, brother. Yeah, I was at the Amphib Navy, so I was with the Marines all the time.
Oh heck yeah, cool. Did you have to do that? Like when you cross the equator, did you have to do that Poseidon ritual?
The showback ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a picture of what we look like because you have to they want you to dress up. You have to look like an idiot when you show up to the ceremony, and they trash you with food and water. You just get beat and trashed all day. Well, we showed up in our camis. I was on a boarding team, so we showed up on our camis, and we had like skull masks and our little climber helmets and our fake the little training guns.
Yeah.
And they did not like that at all because, like they said, they want you to show up looking like an idiot.
Right.
And
I saw some of the stuff.
But we have to treat these people like they're gods and stuff like that. Like there's Zeus and the Pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we didn't turn upside down or anything like that. So
yeah, when I saw that, and I didn't know nothing about that until I started watching Sean and Ken and everybody in the Kingdom crew and whatnot. And someone had a video of that. Maybe it was on Uncommon Ground or something. Yeah, and I was like, what are they doing?
Dude, it was bad. It was bad. And if you didn't participate, they just locked you in the library and you just had to stay there until it was over. So yeah, it was just dumb. They just trash you. You have to pray to them and help us or let us do this. And it was dumb. It was a waste of time.
Making you.
What's that?
What was this again? What are you explaining?
When you cross the equator in the Navy and the Marines, it's called the shellback ceremony. So before you cross the equator in the Navy and the Marines, you're known as a polywog. And when you cross when you cross the equator, you're a shellback.
Okay.
And you have to praise Poseidon.
Yeah, Poseidon and Zeus, like the officers and NCOs and stuff like that. They'll dress up and act like the sea gods, Poseidon, and so on.
Yeah, it's all in our face, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's wild.
Exactly. I mean, then you bring it up and compare it, and you're an oddball, and why can't you just go along with it? Yeah.
Right. You're breaking naval tradition at that point.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's so lighthearted. It's just a break from all of our
Right.
normal tasks. It's just supposed to
Right.
be
We're
fun.
just doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good. You got to cut
All
ties
right,
with all
brother.
those
I'm gonna head to
swears and oaths we did.
Well, guys, I got about 2 or 3 minutes here, and we're going to end the show. I don't want to keep this to about 2 hours. So I appreciate everybody that's called in tonight, except for you naked people. You guys need to go repent. And I appreciate all you good brothers calling in and sharing your heart and your mind with us. And yeah, this is. I wish that we could set an example for, minus the nudity, we could set an example for the rest of our fellow believers to be like, hey, we can all talk, disagree, agree, whatever, but let's hear each other out. You know, like tonight, think of all the different things, the wide range of things that we've talked about in 2 hours, right? I mean, even to what we just finished up, like all kinds of things, right? It's possible for us to all just chill, have a good conversation without getting in our feelings and without trying to cause strife. So this is the part where I feel like we've got to spread this. We've got to show this, display this more. Yeah, appreciate you guys doing it. Also, in the future, I don't have time now. Like I was talking about at the beginning of the broadcast, I don't have time for much right now. But in the future, I would love to get with, with Ken and Wes and myself and others that you've seen on the channel before, and like hold like a monthly meeting for other people that might want to start their own channels, that have something on their heart they want to talk about and they just don't know how to get started, because it's a learning curve all of its own. It can be intimidating. You guys, if you've watched my channel for 5 years, you've seen how I've progressed in production quality and everything involved, you know what I'm saying? So, and I do everything myself. So it's like some people don't even know where to start to learn how to do that kind of stuff. And we would like to just have like a private, I would just like to offer, when I have the time in the future, to start like a once a month private Zoom for other believers who want to start sharing the message, that feel like what we're talking about. Cause Ken and Wes and I, we all collectively have the same message. We just present it with our own flair. Right. So there's probably 40 people in the audience that all understand the details, the ins and outs of what we're talking about. And you also have your own flair or your own little niche or your own way of presenting it that might catch more eyes than we ever could. Right. But you just may not know how to get the right camera started first, or how to deal with the broadcasting software or whatever. We want to kind of walk you through that and help you get started. Or at least I do.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That's wonderful.
It's needed because I don't know how to, I'm not very good at TikTok because I don't use the right camera setup for that, but other people are already great at TikTok, but they may not know exactly the best theology, right? Because they're still on mainstream stuff, right? So then what if we could find a way to blend together, right? If we feel we start understanding these core ideas that just make the Bible synchronous and completely coherent storyline, instead of continually running into an interruption in the transmission of the story because you run into a sticking point because you haven't properly defined your words foundationally, or you haven't understood the core thematic concepts that all the prophets talked about. So if you got the theology because you've been listening to what we say and you think what we're saying is easy to explain to others as far as how we break it down and put it together, but you just technically are challenged, we want to help you. And then on the vice versa, maybe you're not technically challenged, but you're doctrinally challenged. You want to give, you want to have someone to talk to privately. I at least want to initiate this going forward. I can't promise it'll be the next couple months, but that's on my heart. So pray for me if you're out there, like you want to see us grow. Cause I could have 1 million followers on YouTube, or Lighthouse is coming out, or Rumble or whatever. And then all three of you guys could also have 5 million followers,
right?
And be different people. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't even mean that our audiences are truly crossed over that much. Like we may have a 10 to 15% crossover rate, but ultimately you guys could reach entire groups of people that I never will, for whatever reason. Maybe you put the metadata in your videos slightly different or whatever, So maybe someone sees your video and decides to share it on his channel, like you'll have the opportunity with Lighthouse, and then suddenly you go into a whole different demographic that I never reach. So that's the goal of if we're going to fight, if what we run into constantly with the thousands of people that watch our video is that they see that the churches have just muddled the waters of doctrine, and everyone's running around confused. And then the people that are so zealous that they decide, I'm still confused, but I'm going to go ahead and agree with this specific doctrine of this denomination because it seems the most logical. Yeah, there's some pitfalls and I can't explain certain things, but it seems to me the most logical from all the other options. So they eventually give their allegiance to somebody, right? But what happens if everybody starts getting a good understanding of the word? And it has an example of us communicating out our differences or our sticking points in peace. That is what I think the enemy does not want to see happen, right? So we've got to start like it's. I know that we have limitations with the algorithms and the thumbnails. Like some people will never click on a video because they don't like the thumbnail, right? But yet inside that video, 15 minutes in was 5 minutes of me breaking down book of Isaiah that they needed to hear their whole life, and suddenly the Bible makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So like I know that someone else may reach them differently, and that's my goal, is to like, how do we replicate this idea way beyond, like Ken and Wes, like I've known Ken for a long time, so he and I were like trudging through this doctrinal confusion together, trying to, like a huge jigsaw puzzle, like putting it all together and be like, all right, that doesn't fit, that lines up with all the other corners, that fits, like that makes perfect sense, and we can prove it every which way we look at it. And then Wes came along. He's a wonderful adaptee of all this information to pick it up quickly.
Awesome.
And he studies it a lot. Father's given him his own intuition in certain areas, and so he's wonderful, right? Other people out there like that, we just haven't met yet, right? So we want to, in the future, we want to be able to provide some sort of, I don't want to say training, but just some sort of help.
It's a form of coaching. This would be a form of coaching.
I guess, but we're not going to charge. Like we're not going to charge people. But
that's what I would say. That's basically what it would be.
Okay.
I think it would be great. Just to drop this in, where I coach wrestling is owned by a university, a Bible college where I go. I'm like 6 credits shy of finishing.
Okay.
So exactly what you're talking about, I encounter constantly with college age and high school and middle school. And I have to bite my tongue all the time.
You say you coach at a Bible college?
Well, I coach wrestling at a high school or a
regular
private school that's owned by a university that is a Bible college. So both of them, it's a Bible private school and a Bible college.
Interesting.
Columbia International.
Revealing Columbia International. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've known of another city, another Bible college that also owns a K through 12 school. So that's interesting. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So it's just dropped. Like I like to provoke thought. So even today, like when I told you about when I was coaching wrestling, talking about biblical cosmology with these kids, they know the Bible. So when I started dropping verses, I could see the wheels turning. Like, hold on a minute, I did read that, but
that's right.
I didn't understand it in this perspective, kind of deal. So you could see the pieces coming together in their mind. So I, like literally, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I've still got 2 kids texting me.
Yeah,
so,
I wish that when I was
get together just to talk about this, and that's all it is.
Exactly. Imagine
if
when you
for
first
someone
come
like
to
Sean that's been doing this, for somebody like me or other people that constantly watch this or have files of stuff ready to go that just need help interpreting it, dude, that's coaching, man. That'd be beautiful. I'm definitely into that.
Okay. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Absolutely. I'm trying to do YouTube right now. I don't know how you do it live, brother. I struggle with that. I'm on the autism spectrum. Sometimes I overthink it. If I mess up my words, I just scrap it. I'm too OCD sometimes for my own good. So I love that you do the long, hour broadcasts and,
you don't have to do live.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what you're working with, maybe 3 to 5 minute videos are better for you anyway. Like there's a ton of YouTube channels out there that only do 3 to 5 minute videos, and they got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And like, it just depends on how you make that content, what message you put in. And even if you're putting in messages that you've heard me talk about 1,000 times, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean the people that watch your video have ever heard it. You know what I'm saying? So like, these algorithms, this concept of algorithms is crazy, guys. Like you get into a certain algorithm, certain keywords, all that, you can jump into whole demographics that your favorite beloved YouTubers have never jumped into, So that's where we just need all of us, whoever is willing and capable in this technical world. If we feel that we're getting a handle on core doctrines, all right, well, we're not trying to start churches, right? We're not trying to like start, take up volunteers for the nursery and the parking lot and the ushers. Like we're not trying to get into all that racket. We're just simply saying, look, what happens if we just point people to sound doctrine in the word that makes sense with the words, the definitions, and all observable reality? What would happen, if we all started having the ability? And you don't have to like make long, complicated presentations or live streams. You could just do 2 to 3 minutes and have an amazing video that goes viral.
Just sharing good information. Just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I want to encourage you guys. Yeah, we've got people in the live chat tonight that have started on their own doing like West Blaze's girl, Wiley Unpopular is here, Miss Morgan. She does great videos, and she's been laboring away at that for the last few years. She's also on TikTok, and I think she's got videos that she's uploading to IG as well and Reels. And so she's getting a lot of traction as well. Not long videos, and they're pre-recorded, right? So she's not live. She can edit all she wants.
Nice.
She can take as many takes as she needs. So I just want to encourage you guys, and hopefully I'll have more information about that in the future, as well as some other stuff I'll be talking about having to do with our app, because we're building in a username verification with our app right now for ministries and businesses, so that we can, Lord willing, start coordinating some how do I say this without YouTube getting mad? Maybe in the future we can start coordinating people that are on the app for some worst case scenario survival logistics supply chains.
There you go. I've got a couple popping up in my area, so it's definitely getting around. I'm in South Carolina, so I've got 2 within 5 miles of me.
No, they're already out there. If we can just get them together on the same map inside of a private app that's not,
regulated.
Who knows what's popular? Who knows what's possible? But
may the Most High bless the work of your hands, my dear brother, and all your ventures, and for the rest of my brothers here as well.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it, guys. Well, we'll end the show tonight. Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you everyone for the live chat. Guys, I'll see y'all later.
Shalom.
Shalom.
God bless you.
Shalom.
Keep you all.
Shalom,
brother.
All right, guys. Thank you everyone in the live chat that's here. Really appreciate you guys and all the moderators keeping everything civil in the chat. And if you haven't downloaded the app already, I highly recommend it. Good things are on the way. In addition to, once I actually finish the full contextual study guide, which I'm actively working on all the time, I'm going to be uploading it to the app for free. So everyone that right now is supporting us, and as a side benefit, as a part of our Patreon, you get access to the books I'm completing as I complete them through the study guide. You get to download the PDFs for free, or after you get to download the PDFs as a benefit of being in the family tier on Patreon. Once I finish them all, the entire thing's going on our Kingdom in Context app to be accessible for free for everybody. So you guys are making it a reality. The money it takes to build that into the app is what you guys are making reality by supporting us on Patreon like that, and also your other donations that you put in. So like the app itself is its own cost to be built, but then to have that amount of data uploaded to it and configured in the way that it needs to make it coherent, because it's not just simply copy pasting paragraphs. If you've seen our contextual study guide, it's a totally different format. So it's just, you guys are making it possible. Big thank you to everyone that's a supporter. Big thank you to everyone that's that likes what we're doing and wants to get this message further out there. You guys are amazing. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.